Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to World of Tanks with Union 237. Today we're playing the STB-1, the tier 10 Japanese medium tank. One of the probably one of the best tanks in the game. Actually, it was a very good vehicle before we got its what I would consider a significant buff to the vehicle. Now it's even better. It's probably one of the strongest tier 10 medium tanks behind stuff like the Object 140 and the Object 907. This thing specialises in having fantastic DPM. Currently, I think it's pushing around 3.6k on the setup I'm using. The setup I recommend for this tank, or at least the one I'm using, is I believe it's a turbo, rammer, and maybe vents. That's just your choice whether you want to use vents, vertical stabilizers, or improved rotation mechanism. Definitely, you want to try and push this DPM up as much as possible, because that's what the tank is known for. It starts off with 368 millimeters, 360 damage, and with about a 5.7 second reload. So it's getting to like Object 140 levels of DPM, and with I think it is 14 degrees of gun depression you can obtain in this vehicle when using the new hydropneumatic suspension. It's a first Vigilant Warrior. And it's very mobile, as you'll be seeing later on. As you see at the moment, I'm trying to get a mission done. I believe this is block 6, which I've got to shoot an enemy vehicle 10 times and spot 2 vehicles. So the reason I rushed to that initial position here on the Kharkov map is to get shots into enemy vehicles. Unfortunately, I was a bit late getting there, but luckily we've got a TVP feasting on a 279 who didn't want to play the game, or has allowed his son or daughter to go on instead of him playing. So that's pretty much our one thing stopping the entire town being overrun, dead within the first minute and a half of this game. So things are going well. And I'm going to work my way out of here. I want to stay in fighting town because double RT. I really don't want to go fight E1. Where the T55A and the HWK30 are, just because the STB is quite lightly armoured, especially on the roof of the tank. As you can see, it's like a little mountain goat, this thing. It's got very good engine power. It may not be the fastest tank in a straight line, which is why I do use the turbo, but it's got fantastic engine power, which is certainly very good if you are a Vigilant Warrior. It does have a cupola at the top that's a bit of a weak point, but as you can see here, we're going to be utilising every little bit of terrain we can to try and stave off the attack from this E100. Luckily he fires and he misses us, I believe, and we have a bunch of tanks behind us helping out. That G-Sword decides to cross, so we get another shot into him. And at this point here, we're playing this little hold down here. The E100 really can't do much unless he manages to hit our turret. Luckily for us, he's using the big 150mm gun. I say luckily for us because that thing has less penetration. You can see there he hits a shot, I believe, on the side of our turret, or maybe even a gunman. They're going to have a look there. Yeah, just the side of the turret, and even with heat that bounces, so I guess we're quite lucky there. However, this thing's turret can be penned by other heat rounds, such as ones from like the Russian mediums, for example. And as you can see here, I'm thinking of going down this little trench system and go and fight out in the town, but I see at the end there's already a VK and IS-32 that's blocking the entrance there, and they're in a crossfire between like 3 or 4 medium tanks plus there's double RT, so I decide against it. And the E100 here is where we tried to shoot that G-Sub, and unfortunately he dies before our shell gets there. There is quite low shell velocity on this thing, as when it got its rework it lost its APCR rounds as standard. It just fires standard AP rounds, which I guess is more realistic for the vehicle. It did lose maybe 200 meters per second shell velocity, or it's got like something like 1300, I believe. So it's not the best sniper, but it's not terrible. It definitely works. But yes, the E100 there, he got set on fire by something, so that makes my life very easy. And what we're doing here is, seeing as we're 3 tanks down, but the HP is quite even, I need to take out this E100, and I'm going to accept that I'm going to eat a shot here. I've got to use my HP now. I could have potentially gone about this in a better way, and potentially use like the hold downs that were around as we finally get the kill shot from the E100. But I decided against it just because I didn't know where the T95 was, and that thing is going to be fun to deal with, especially close quarters like this. Here comes the FV215B. He is he tunnel visioned at the start of this engagement, and now he's just decided that he doesn't really want to penetrate any of my tank, and he bounces 2 shots off us in quick succession, and we managed to pick him up. So currently we're up to 1,000 spotting, 1,500 blocked, and 2,300 damage. Now this is by no means a fantastic game, as the 50 TP comes behind us and he shoots underneath our tank, so we get very lucky there. And now we've got to try and kill a near full health tier 9 medium tank. Unfortunately we hit his tracks there, but we don't do any damage, and now he's going to try and rush us. Luckily we've got a nice pile of rubble that we can work with, so hopefully he'll bounce a shot, which he does. We've got only 5 armor piercing rounds left now. I probably should have switched to heat here, but the fantastic pen of 258 on the STB does allow me to punish this guy a bit more. I'm get a bit unlucky where some of my shots are going now, but I know I've got to deal with this guy quickly. We managed to double track him, and he gets shot in the back by one of our friendly tanks, so that helps us out. Now I'm very wary of this T95 because I believe he's near full HP, as we're now 3 tanks that he is in fact full HP, so we decided to track him here, and I think I can reverse, but we wouldn't have been able to get away from him, so I decided to quickly dart to the right and get behind this FE215B. Now this T95 is in a bit of a predicament here. He has got tanks to his right who he's going to expose his flank to, but he's also got me, so I'm stalling time here, but he is also stalling time, so I'm going to try and feather a shot into his commander's hatch, which we're able to do. Unfortunately for him, he's too low down to actually shoot us, or at least if he does try, he's got a very narrow shot on us, as we're looking for another shell there. But I realised at this point he was actually tracked, so I decided to go around him. Unfortunately we've run out of the AP rounds, so we're going to have to fight heat, and heat obviously doesn't go through tracks or spaced armour, and this guy has spaced armour and 2 sets of tracks, so we can't track him and do damage. So I decided to put rounds into him, and unfortunately this is going to mean that I'm going to be distracted from helping the ISU and the 430 that is still alive on my team. Now I make a massive misplay here. I had a good shot in his cupola, but I decided to shoot the cheeks of his tank instead because it was a bigger target, and I thought I could go through the side of it. Unfortunately, I couldn't. So that damage lost could hamper us massively here. But now we've got an E50. Now that was a very lucky shot there, as I didn't aim that, and these heat rounds got quite poor shell velocity. As you can see, it's taken maybe half a second to actually reach the C50. But unfortunately for him, he's getting spotted by the 430, and yeah, he's not getting away from this, so that's a free kill on a tier 9 medium tank. But unfortunately, with that guy down, we weren't able to save the 430 from the CS52 list. Now this Hawk 30, I don't know what his game plan was, but he's firing KG, so I guess he thought he could come and pen the backside of my tank with it. Well, yeah, that was dealt with, and that leaves us in a 1 versus 6 situation. And this Hawk 30 unfortunately pens a HE round on us, so that leaves us on below 300 hit points, but we managed to pick up the kill on that tier 8 light tank. And now the RTC, and at this point I think this is the end, but he somehow misses us, even with the poor driving there of going up onto the rubble and actually exposing more of my tank to his gun. He missed us because reasons. So yeah, that's 2 tanks dealt with, and that's half of the RNG taken out of this game, as we spot the CS52, who's a very good player, but unfortunately for him, he's on a 1-shot. But I'm also on a 1-shot for him. I can't remember exactly what that thing's alpha is. I believe it's 320. Even if it was 250, it's still a high roll would still kill me. Now I'm trying to look for a shot on him here, but I realise that he's not coming that way, and at this point I make a massive misplay, because I should have realised that he's actually going to be coming down the next road, the road that's coming up on our right hand side right now. So yeah, I should have I should have been watching that side a bit more carefully, but yeah, luckily we get a very lucky shot there. It's very uncharacteristic of the STB to actually hit anything really, let alone shots fully on the move and during turret rotation. Now luckily the only things left is a 1-shot Patriot, the T95 on 700 hit points, and the artillery. And as you see there, 53mm of penetration. I don't expect this thing to go through the artillery superstructure, but this at least means I don't have to waste heat rounds, which could come in very precious at the end of the game. and we spot the FV207. Luckily he doesn't spot us, so I decide not to waste time, and I just decide to fire because I don't know where that Patriot was last spotted. Well, I don't know where he is. I know he was last spotted in the 6th line in the trench as we pick up the RT. That gets us our 8th kill, and now there's only 2 enemies left. And the issue I'm facing here is that Patriot knows where I am, but I don't know where he is. The T-95, for all I know, could be trundling back towards base. So I've got to try and, you know, work around this and try and eliminate them as quick as possible. Luckily there is a ridgeline here, and I think about going for cap, and it's definitely the right play here to force them out. But luckily the Patriot is, I don't know what he was doing. I guess he thought that I'd gone the other way and I was running up north, and here I decide I was going to cap, and then I decided better of it because I don't know where the T-95 is. For all I know, the T-95 could be lumbering straight towards me, and capping would be out of the question. So what I'm going to do first is I have the massive mobility advantage here. I'm going to use the entire field, and I'm going to speed up the replay here just because you don't need to see me driving across a field. And I'm just going to be using these bushes, and I'm going to be using the terrain just to work my way along towards my cap circle and see if I can get vision. Now, what I need is either for that T-95 to start capping, or for me to spot him in the open. And I doubt the latter will happen because, you know, it's a T-95, he's going to play in town, as was evident earlier. It's very difficult to, you can outmaneuver a T-95, but if he catches you at the wrong point, there's a lot more narrow corridors, and as you can see here, I'm working my way towards the enemy cap circle. We're currently sitting on 8,000 damage. So at this point, this is already like my second highest damage game. I believe my highest is my Jagdpanzer 100 back when that thing was actually good. But yeah, this has definitely been one of my greatest games of World Tanks so far. We are in contention for my second ever Kolobanov's medal in an actual tank that's not overpowered. My first one was achieved in the E25, but it's an E25. And here we decide to start capping. But I wiggle my way outside the cap, so because you see there's only 1 minute 53 seconds on the game, so as I was busy wiping the sweat off my hands here, I probably should have been paying a bit more attention and realised as we have 5 seconds to spare on the cap. I should have probably realised a bit sooner to actually get on and start capping. Who knows, that 5 seconds, that 5-10 seconds that we lost there not capping could prove costly towards the end of the replay. Now, there is a choice of concealment within this cap circle. There are a couple of bushes to my left, and there is also this big ice pile here. But fortunately for us, the T-95 decides to cap. Now, I could have got back to base within a minute. I think if I'd have just straight lined it, I would have got back. But I decided either I don't think I'd have done it if I had more time, because I'm just trying to win harder at this point. But what I'm doing here is I'm just moving to the side of the cap circle, making sure that I've got some form of concealment far away from any possible objects that he can blind fire, and we cap with just enough time left on the game. So yeah, I'm very happy with that result. We managed to get on 1 versus 6 in the STB-1. So yeah, I'm extremely happy with that result, as it's probably not very evident by how much I'm not like jumping up and down with joy, but I was at the time. I was very happy, and that I managed to take down the Kolobanovs. It's very rare that you get a situation where you can achieve a 1 versus 5, let alone a 1v6. Now granted, there were some lower tier tanks, but I believe that was nullified by the fact that I was pretty much a one shot, or at least I wouldn't have been able to survive if at least 2 of them had come at me at the same time. But fortunately, we were able to pick it up. As you can see, we get a profit actually with well, initially we get a profit, but we did have to fight quite a substantial amount of premium ammunition that game. We did damage to nearly every single tank. I believe there's maybe only 2 or 3 that we didn't damage. We picked up 9 kills in the end. We got a load of hero medals. We got the Radley Walters medal. We got a Kolobanov's medal, Pascucci's, High Caliber Invader, and a Top Gun. And obviously we get an ace tanker for this game for the 1,600 base experience that we got. And as you can see here, in terms of damage, we definitely carried this team. It was it was, even if we hadn't been able to win that game, I'd have still been extremely happy. I mean, we could have got 10 kills, 1 kill away from a Pulse medal. Like I said, I don't think I'd have wanted to win any harder than what I did. But if there was time, I guess I had the bushes and I had a ridgeline, and I guess I could have worked over that T95. But I was quite low on ammunition. But who knows? I don't usually like to win harder. You know, maybe, maybe I should have gone for it if there's a couple of extra minutes that I had. But yeah, I think I did overall like 66% of my team's damage, so definitely worthy of the victory there. As you can see, the enemy team, they weren't half bad. This CS doing 4,000 damage in a tier 8, so he had a absolutely amazing game, and unfortunately wasn't able to pick up the victory for his team there. This T95 also had an okay game. I guess he dawdled a bit too much, which is ironic given it's T95, but he had plenty of opportunities to push me in that town. This M53 here, he threw that game so much from that. I don't know what he was doing, whether he was lagging or whether he just got really bad RNG, but there's a limit there to bad RNG. As you can see from the report, we've fired 40 shots, of which 38 hit and only 28 penetrated. I guess, that's not all too bad, firing 40 shots and having 28 pens. Some of them were speculative rounds, some of them obviously were fired into tracks or at long range, and as you can see, we didn't even make a profit. Even with a premium account and getting 140,000, we still lost 15,000 for firing all of that heat ammunition, but who can blame me, because I did actually run out of ammunition. You can see we won the game with 1 second left on the clock, which is yeah, it was cutting it quite close, a bit too close for my liking. And yeah, one thing that we like to see is a medium tank actually being able to be versatile and play a relatively decent heavy tank role, as you saw, especially engaging that E100 in the dip and engaging multiple, well I said multiple, they came one by one, but engaging those heavy tanks in the town. The 50TP, the FE215B, we're able to bounce some of those shots. We only blocked 2k, but that's an entire worth of my tank that they weren't able to kill. And if one of those shots had gone in, then this replay would be very different. But luckily it didn't. And yeah, this versatile high DPM absolute monster of a machine is definitely rightful of being one of the strongest at tier 10, as I said. And I definitely recommend picking it up, because it is just generally a fun tank to play. It's one of those ones that you really can't go wrong with it. It's got fantastic DPM, it's got good mobility, it's got decent armor. Against lower tier opponents, it's practically impenetrable on a ridge line unless they hit the commander's hatch. Even against same tier opponents, you saw that E100 firing key ammunition. It struggles to deal with you, and it's such a low profile tank on a ridge with that hydrogen pneumatic suspension means, then there's no RT. It can do some work, and even on flat ground, as you saw in the town, it can do some amazing things with its insane DPM, which I don't know the exact value, but it's definitely pushing 3.7k, I reckon. And I'm not even using bond or bounty equipment in it, which I definitely recommend using. And as you can see, it's capable of driving quite fast, 7 kilometers driven, although probably 2 of those were unnecessarily going backwards and forwards in the field. But anyway, before I ramble on too much and bore you to death, if you did enjoy this video, please do leave a like, share and subscribe. I know I haven't paid World of Tanks all too much attention, but hopefully I shall give it a bit more love during the upcoming campaign. If there are any good games, I shall definitely feature those. But yeah, I'll catch you for some more hopefully World of Tanks content very soon.